you were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and so let's talk about that journey.
Stanford University did a study and said that like 70% of diseases come from negative emotions. So that's a huge area that's being ignored. Mm-hmm. What's going on in your thoughts, your minds, and your emotions.
I've been told by a doctor I know, she said, basically I wasn't trained to help patients, I was trained to prescribe drugs. And I'm paid to prescribe drugs.
That's one of the reasons why people won't get healed or allow themselves to get healed or go this naturopathic way, because they want to take a pill, because that's what we've been conditioned to do.
Truth is freedom.
Hello, I'm Dennis Cummins. Welcome to Truth is Freedom, pastor of Experience Church here. And I have a special guest with us today, a special friend, Pastor Diego Mesa, all the way from Rancho Cucamonga, California, the founding pastor of Patriot Church, and recently turned it over to his son, Adam. And he is a mentor, a leader, a pastor, helping other pastors figure out which way to go, what to do in these very, very confusing times, but also a stage 4 cancer survivor and an overcomer. And we're going to be talking about that today because, as we know, Big Pharma is driving the machine, the medical machine, and insurances and, programs. And they're just driving to teach people how to treat symptoms and not cure people and help people find the cure. So, Pastor Diego, thank you so much for being on Truth is Freedom today.
It's an honor.
Wow. You are in a new season of life.
Yeah, a good season.
Yeah.
A good season. So I've embraced it. I'm not struggling with it, denying it. It's just a great season to, they say there's seasons of like faithfulness, and then there's seasons of fruitfulness. There's seasons of finishing, and then there's seasons of fulfillment. So I think I'm in that fulfillment stage where I don't have to feel like I have to prove anything. I don't have to earn anything. There's a sense of rest now because we kind of did the work up front.
Yeah, I mean, you've got an incredible legacy, and we so appreciate the relationship and
absolutely
who you are. So let's talk about the medical side of things.
Okay.
and naturopath and the natural way and. So many people are conditioned, or they have been trained to obey the doctor at all costs. You know, that's just what you're supposed to do. The doctor's always right. Their tests are always right, their test results. And there are other ways, and I would say godly ways, to help us. And this isn't like we're against medicine, but it's finding God's right medicine for ourselves. So let's kind of unpack that a little bit, because you were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and so let's talk about that journey.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that anybody in the medical industry purposely goes in it to deceive or to be the byproduct of a system, or not to genuinely want to help people.
Right.
But it's an environment. It's a culture that exists that promotes not true information, not true knowledge. There may be a portion of it that is truthful, but the full picture and the full gamut of how the body works, how true healing takes place, like you said, which was masterful, not dealing with the symptoms. Symptoms come and go. Let's deal with the cause. And when I heard that word from the foremost oncologist in the Kaiser system, which I was part of, to tell me there's never going to be a cure, and all we're trying to do is prolong your life. Prolong your life? Is that what medicine is for, and medication is for, and prescriptions are for, that kind of makes you feel yucky and has so many side effects that are as long as your arm when you read them? Is that the end goal, to live a week longer, a year longer? That wasn't my goal. That wasn't my goal. I wanted to be healed. I wanted to be cured. And so when I recognized them admitting that they couldn't do it, it made me seek out then another remedy and find God's wisdom. And that can be overwhelming for people that have ailing afflictions or terminal diagnoses, because the pressure, the torment, the fear can often be overwhelming kind of thing. And so when a doctor or whoever it is says, I don't believe that naturopathic medicine works, there's a sense of truth in that because they've never studied it.
Right.
All their books are, like you said, funded by pharmaceuticals. Their medical industry is promoting pharmaceuticals, so they've been raised in that culture.
Well, I've been told by a doctor I know. She said basically I wasn't trained to help patients. I was trained to prescribe drugs, and I'm paid to prescribe drugs. And so the pharmaceutical industry is driving the industry. So yeah, they're at a deficit in coming into this industry, because you're right. They really don't know the other side of this.
Yeah, and I mean the more you know, then you're enlightened, and you don't feel such limitations in making choices and making those decisions. So, the Bible says we perish for lack of knowledge. And most people are like what you said, and like me, you grow up in a world, in a system where you believe the doctor knows everything. And so you yield to their titles and to their years of experience, when then you come to find out, well, wait a minute, are they really practicing then medicine on me, kind of thing? And do I want to be their guinea pig, or do I want to seek out another alternative and find out that healing, not only supernatural healing, but natural healing, is found through all the Word of God.
Yes.
Healing leaves in the garden, healing leaves in heaven. Herbs are mentioned there. When King Hezekiah got healed, he got healed supernaturally. And then Isaiah said, put an ointment on you of figs. So we see that it's there, but it's not often understood or talked about.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the mindset, though, because let's say somebody says, you know what, I've been diagnosed with such and such. I don't like the remedy that the doctor's giving me, what they're prescribing. And so sometimes they turn to the naturopath side and they get really good information, but I think they forget that it's taken years for their condition to come about by the way they eat, sleep, stress. Maybe we could talk about some of that. I'd like to unpack that, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I've got this thing now. No, you've taken years to create this thing, and then you go to a naturopath and you try it. You don't do it. You try it for 3 months and you don't like your results. We were talking a little bit about that earlier. Let's unpack that.
Yeah. Well, for most sicknesses and diseases that, let's just say, somebody wasn't necessarily born with, or are of some form of deformity, or maybe even that came from an accident, let's just say, which are rare cases. There are some things that can be done naturally. God created the body to heal itself, number one, and you have to put the right fuel in it to get the right output. But we're putting wrong fuel in it, so the body can't do what God created it to do. So someone says, well, you know what, I ate this, I do this, I sleep wrong here, I abuse my body, and I did it for years, and now all of a sudden, well, it took that long to break down the immune system, or that which was imbalanced on the inside, to begin to manifest over years. Yeah. It'd be like, there's a leak on the roof and it's leaking on my head. So you go on the roof and you think it's right above you 10 feet from there, but then you say there's no hole there, but then you trace it back another 10 feet and you realize the hole is over there, but it took that long to find that entry weak point before it got over your head. And that's the way it often happens. It's abuse and misuse and neglect and irresponsibility that has taken place over years, and now it's manifested. So you're right. You were already in a declining position many, many years ago. You were not always at your strongest many, many years ago. And so, it's going to take time. And if you're willing to give that time, then the body can heal itself of most conditions if you're not so-called too far along. And if you are, then that's where the miracle working power of God comes.
Yeah.
To restore. So from the moment I was diagnosed in 2008, it took about 4 years before I felt 100%. And I felt like I could do what I used to be able to do before the diagnosis. So it took about 4 years to rebuild everything back in my body.
Let's go back, Pastor Diego.
Yep.
The level of strain, stress, and the weight that you were carrying in ministry. How many services were you doing? We talked a little bit about overextending ourselves, and we do that prolonged over time, the stress and all of that, and years compiled all of that, and then really to look at 4 years of discipline and dedication to turn that around. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people won't get healed or allow themselves to get healed or go this naturopathic way, because they want to take a pill, because that's what we've been conditioned to do.
Yeah. Take
the pill, take the shortcut, don't have to discipline yourself, don't have to change your lifestyle, which was a huge part of mine. Is I, most like most people, thought I'm invincible. And there's an S in front of my chest, and I can do whatever. I can sleep 4 hours a day, and that's more than enough. And I can just, drink, Gatorades and sweet drinks and soft drinks, and I'll be fine, and have a typical American diet filled with, processed foods and inflammation foods and things of that nature. And I can take on worry, and I can take on stress, and I can take on negative emotions of unforgiveness and bitterness and grief, and not have any side effects, and not have to exercise or, get sunlight, which is God's vitamin D. And all these things that God created that we've robbed ourselves of, and put all this unnecessary stress on our bodies that over a period of time begins to break down our health and our immune system. And so when those lifestyles begin to change, which you and I are, spirit, soul, and body, so you have to attack all three realms of who you are, and really take an honest evaluation of the imbalances that are in your life, and then say, okay, now I'm willing to correct them.
So let's talk about the difference between trying naturopath and doing naturopath, because I mean, you've testified of many people that said, wow, it worked for you, I'm going to try it. And they get 3 or 4 or 6 months into it, and then they go to the medical doctor, which doesn't understand what they're doing, and suddenly they just walk away from it like that was just a big mistake.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, everybody has their own individual journey, and I don't want to put down or make people feel bad because they're right now in chemo, or they're right now doing radiation or taking prescriptions. I just want to encourage them that there is another way, and I believe with all my heart, going down the road that I've gone down, having stage 4 terminal cancer, taking 2 years of chemo, and then for the last 14 years of my life been on a naturopathic lifestyle, I would have never had my right kidney removed, and I would have never done chemo. But people's fear is overwhelming. The pressure of doctors can be overwhelming for them, and they want that instant result. So, and
family members too, because they're part of that system.
Yeah,
and they're thinking.
I know a cousin who knows a cousin who died of that, or I have my spouse is in the medical industry, and they're telling me I must do this. Don't be irresponsible. So, yeah, that plays a heavy load on people making a tough decision, but. Again, you didn't get sick overnight, and so let the recovery take time, and don't panic. Don't panic. I often tell people, forget about what the doctors say. Even forget about what the last test scores say. How do you feel? And when you get to the root of it, when they've gone over to the naturopath, they say, I actually feel better. Then those tests are subject to interpretation. He's only giving you one opinion. You don't know if you changed your diet that week and you ate something wrong that spiked, a level of a test or a blood marker or a prostate marker or whatever it is, and you don't know that maybe something they're seeing in an X-ray, PET scan, CAT scan was something you were born with. So your body has already adapted and healed to it. You just immediately go into panic mode, so you'll give up the naturopath journey and say it doesn't work, slide over, and sometimes it just is not a good ending.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that is trying the naturopath, and they're not seeing the tests in the medical field respond the way that they would hope? How would you coach them? We're not obviously giving medical advice, but how would you coach them as a spiritual mentor?
Yeah. So sometimes the journey based on what you're going through is a journey you can't do alone. You need a team with you. And so you need to build your team around you. Those could be prayer warriors, they could be your cheerleaders, but they're people that are very knowledgeable in the field that go beyond the MD world, the medical doctor world, the allopathic world, and begin to get them involved in your life. So there are people like Chris Wark, there's people like Dr. Jock Axe, Dr. Jordan Rubin, Ty Bollinger, people leading movements to educate people. And there's probably no disease on the other side of this mic that there is not a testimony of people being healed from. So that information is very key, that you infiltrate your mind with these stories and these testimonies of people that have recovered, and their stories of how they did it, the methods in which they did it. And you begin to educate yourself that it's a lifestyle change. So from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed, to what you're watching, to what you're hearing, to what you're eating, to what you're thinking about, has to be broken down. And that's what I would tell somebody. Take that journey, go on the websites, look that up, and then if you were gonna pay a doctor anyways, or your insurance was, so there's, that's why people say, oh, the naturopathic world is not covered by insurance, and so it's so expensive. Well, it's expensive to be sick, and money goes where money is loved and needs to follow it. So you'll find God will lead you, and there'll be money and resources to be able to fund that. And then those doctors, those allopathic doctors, will be able to come side of you and say, okay, you're going on this regimen, you're going to go on it X amount of time. After that, we're going to take another blood test, or we're going to do a CAT scan, because they're not flakes, they're not quacks, they're not irresponsible. They want you, they genuinely want you to be healed. So they're going to tell you either go do this. Another one, Dr. Mark and Michelle Sherwood out of Tulsa is very good, because they flow in the naturopath and the MD, because the allopath is the one that can often prescribe prescriptions and get the blood markers or the x-rays done, where the allopathic can't always do that because the system has confined them. So that's how you're able to integrate that to get the information you want, so that then they can interpret for you properly the latest things. And if things need to be adjusted, where, I'm not able to digest this drink that you're having me on, or I'm nauseated, then they'll be able to curtail that to you. And so that's why that team is so important to take the journey with.
Yeah. So let's talk about food.
Okay.
Because obviously that's our fuel.
Yeah.
And we know we can't put water, we can't put other things in our gas tank, but yet we're putting stuff in our body, and many times we don't even ask. The food pyramid's a joke. So and you're brilliant as far as your regimen and your commitment, but can you explain the difference between, looking at a dietary focus and a lifestyle versus becoming religious about it? Could you focus about the spirit of the focus of eating healthy, where some people might go to an extreme, and then just how bad the food is in America in general that we're buying?
Well, I mean, I think every person, as well as a believer, wants to steward their lives, steward your money, steward your property, steward your health, and that's what you want to do. You know, I, as well as everybody else, wants to live as long as I can, and I want to live an optimum life. I don't want my 70s and 80s to be on medication and crutches and seeing doctors.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of life I want to live, but that's what society and the system has told you is going to inevitably happen to you. Eventually, you'll reach a point where those things will be the last, 5 years of your life. And I don't find that in the Bible.
Yeah.
Moses' eyes did not grow dim, and he had the full strength.
Yes.
Job lived 4 more generations and lived a full life. So there's a promise of 120 years. And there are blue zones in the world where it's showing that people are living beyond 100. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those have commonalities, and they have low stress levels there. They have amazing diets that are taking place. And so you've got to realize that, again, our system has created, count how many fast foods are in your city or in your block, mm-hmm. especially, and I'm really moved by this, especially in low income communities.
Built around convenience and cost, right?
I don't want to say that there's an agenda behind it, but what are you trying to kill me off before my time? You say that I'm irrelevant and I don't have a purpose. And so we have to reject that,
Yeah.
And recognize that the food that we are eating is comfort food. There is no nutritional value in that. The soil has been depleted now. There are just supplements, man-made stuff put into that just simply fills your stomach, but like you said, does not give you fuel, the right antidotes or that you need, the octane, that's the word I was looking for, the right octane.
Yeah.
For this high-performance engine that we call our bodies. So you want to eat as naturally raw as possible, something that man did not touch, mm-hmm. to the best of your ability. Can you do it 100%? No, but 90%. So
examples.
But examples would be it comes out of the ground kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's not sprayed with herbicides and pesticides that make it grow faster so that farmer can go to market and can get his paycheck faster. Where an organic is going to cost double the money, it's got to stay in the ground twice as long, and that farmer may only be paid once, but he cares about the product he's getting. The soils have been so depleted of the nutritional value.
Yeah.
Can we do everything 100%? No, we can't. But we could try to the best ability to take control over our health.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to still use my faith and pray over my meal and bless it and ask God to bring the nutrition that it needs to bring into my body. I'm not going to make food an idol. I'm not going to make food a god. But I am at the place in my life where I've walked down this journey, and I love how I feel.
Yeah.
That I'm a 63-year-old man that has the energy of a 43-year-old man. And I don't have a foggy, clogged mind. Mm-hmm. I don't need an afternoon nap. I can do multiple sports.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of energy. So for me to go back to a poor diet is not me saying, oh, I won't do that because I'm afraid I'm going to get cancer. I just don't want to go back to the way I used to feel kind of thing. Yeah. I love how my body is able to produce and perform. And so that's why it's important for me to continue to live that lifestyle.
Yeah, and for those of you that are listening and maybe not seeing the video, you need to understand Pastor Diego is not 42, 63, and just finished a triathlon, half an Ironman. That's like many times more than I would finish at this age, at 55. But you practice what you preach, and that's what's beautiful. And we are stewards. We are stewards of our body. We're stewards of what we put in. And how many times have we practiced knowing hypocrisy that we ask God to bless food that we're going to put in our body that's really not food? It's just engineered, you know, it like McDonald's, it still sits there, you know, 5 years later, untouched, without any mold, any decay, nothing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's more of a biohazard for our body than any kind of sustenance.
They've scientifically, perfected this now. You know, it shouldn't surprise us in the world we're living in, where everything is artificial. How much of our food is really real and raw and artificial versus artificial? What represents maybe what your grandmother ate compared to now, you know, kind of thing. They even threw lard in with it, and may have had bacon and lived to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
But the soil was good. The stress level was low.
Yeah.
You know, so they had a very much balanced life. They had a home where the family was together. You know, they ate meals together. They prayed together. So it's just a whole different world. But it shows something that we've lost over the generations to gain more wealth
and convenience. And can we just say it's not, if you want to live a convenient life, it's going to be difficult to live a healthy life, because it requires discipline in sleep, discipline in activity, discipline in diet,
in cooking and shopping.
Prep.
I go to the market twice a week. I cook for myself. It's going to take me 30 minutes to 45 minutes to do that. But I know what's going in my body. I know the kind of pans that I'm using to cook it in. I know the oils that are going in it.
Yeah.
I know the seasoning that's going on it. So those things matter to me, and I take responsibility for that. And you learn to love it. And then, you know, some people, I can't do that because you're eating like a cow, and you know it doesn't taste good. Well, the reality is this: is for everything that you like, I probably can find a healthy alternative for it.
Yeah.
Instead of your white sugar, I'm going to use honey, or I'm going to use maple syrup.
Right.
The way God created it.
Yep.
It's there, and it's very sweet. And instead of using your white flour, I might use coconut flour or walnut or almond flour. So there's a definite alternative. Instead of, you know, eating the meats that you're going to use, I'm going to use grass-fed meats that haven't been shot up. You know, and so there's an alternative to your farm-raised fish. I'm going to use wild-caught fish. So there's no man feeding them, trying to grow them quickly again to take them to market.
Right. So, well, I think this is really important, because people are literally dying, and they're digging their grave with their fork and their spoon. There's really not much thought of activity or exercise until January hits. 1st of January, and they get a few weeks in, and then they're gone. So what kind of closing thoughts would you give somebody that maybe they've been listening and they're saying, okay, maybe I should check out alternatives. I should check out the naturopath side, see what my options are. What would you do to help encourage them?
Yeah. Stanford University did a study and said that like 70% of diseases come from negative emotions. So that's a huge area that's being ignored. What's going on in your thoughts, your minds, and your emotions. So we talked a little bit about that, like worry and fear and anxiety and resentment and grief. It is also, there's a study that says somewhere around 70% of diseases start in the gut. So keeping your gut clean. And the number one thing I tell people is just go get a good probiotic and take your probiotic that's filled with healthy bacteria to eat up the bad bacteria.
And most of those have to be refrigerated for good ones, or what?
Actually, they have now come to the point where not all of them have to be refrigerated. They used to be that way, but I use a company called Ancient Nutrition, and you don't have to refrigerate it anymore.
That's great.
Yeah. So no, exercise is just good to relieve stress, build your white blood count, and create more energy. So God created the body to move. It's meant to move. But we put all these perspirants on us and all these lotions on us because we don't want to sweat. We want to look cute. But that's the way the body God created to detoxify itself from all the bad diet, from all the surroundings that we're living in with that negative emotion and technology. And your body was meant to sweat.
Yeah.
So I have an infrared sauna, and I use it as much as I can.
I do too. Thank you very much for the lead.
Yeah. So there's a regular sauna, which sweats from pore level that most people, but the infrared goes into the organs of the body and is a detoxification. So just for an average person, I just would tell them to exercise, monitor, make sure you're getting those 7 to 8 hours sleep, because your body has to rebuild itself, and do occasionally intermediate fasting. Eat your last meal at 6 o'clock, and maybe don't eat again till 3 or 4 or 5 in the afternoon the next day. And that allows your body not to have to work to break down digestion and food, but actually now work to repair itself from damages that are taking place. So eating right, a good diet, and the infrared saunas, and a good probiotic, and your lifestyle's change. Watch that bread intake that you eat, and so there are good alternatives. We had sourdough bread yesterday, so we ate that kind of stuff. And so that's how I would start.
Right on. Well, Pastor Diego, thank you so much. You're a bank of wisdom and guidance, and so we so appreciate having you on today.
It's been an honor.
Thank you. Well, that's Truth is Freedom. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, send it out. Help some other people know how to heal their body, listen to God, and make sure that they're doing the right thing. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for watching this episode. Make sure to share this out, and remember, truth is freedom.